Today, I'm tackling two small but mighty mends from my repair basket, reattaching a missing bra hook and giving a few old dish rags a second life. These are the kind of quick fixes that keep your clothes and linens in rotation longer, save money, and keep things out of the trash. So grab your mending and let's do these together. Hello, sewing friends, and welcome to Sew Suzette, the place to sew better and sew happier. First on the list is a bra, and it's got a loose hook. Bras are not cheap anymore, and when you find one that's really comfortable and it fits you really well, you want to keep it for as long as you can. So we're going to repair the hook on this bra today. Just takes an extra hook and pull it out of my stash, some black thread, and we'll do some hand sewing on that one. I have these old hooks that I probably got at an estate sale or a yard sale, and they are still very much intact and in very good shape. So it's pretty cool. They're Clinton brand hooks. It says a product of Scoville, and they are rust-proof hooks, eyes, and loops. It says made in the USA. They're size 1, and this is it says also Oakville Company, and it was made in Oakville, Connecticut. Oakville, Connecticut. Connecticut is where I'm from originally, so that's pretty cool. 15 cents for this whole card. That's also pretty cool. Probably won't ever see those prices ever again in anyone's lifetime. Anyway, so we're going to use this. The hook size I've already measured against the hooks that are here, and it's going to be really hard to see because it's a black hook on a black bra, but it's not quite the same size. I have a size 2 hook here that I'll put next to it for comparison. Let's see if I can put them down here on the mat, and I'll zoom in. So there's the difference in the size. So the size 2 hook is definitely a little bit bigger. However, when I compare it to the hook that's on the bra, it is much bigger. So I don't know if that I want to use that one. I'll stick with the size 1. Okay. So here I have opened up where the seam is that all of these hooks are sewn into. And I'm going to slip that hook in there. Hopefully it'll stay in there. And I might even get a pin just to hold that in there. All right, let's see if this works. Let's go from this end and see if maybe I can pin it through. All right, let's see if that holds it. All right, that grabbed it. We're just going to have that pin hold that hook in place for right now. I'm going to grab my needle here. I'm going to take a length of black thread, and we want to double the thread. We just try to get that. Oh wow, look at that. First try, didn't even have to wet the thread. It went right through. That never happens with my eyes. And the second one. All right, so I got both of them to go through. And then we're going to just pull this thread and meet the looped end up with the 2 cut ends. And I need to knot my needle. So this is how I knot my needles. So the needle goes against my finger, and between my finger and the needle, I place the thread ends, and I wrap to the front and around the back. And I can do that once, or if I want a really much thicker knot, I can wrap it twice. And then I'm going to pinch that twist between my finger and my thumb. And then I'm going to pinch it and hold it and pull that thread until I get a knot. And there's my knot. Now I need to bury that knot. So I need to find the round parts of the bottom of the hook are sandwiched in the material, and I'm trying to put my needle through that and through the material. So that'll secure it. And then I get that knot buried, and then make sure my ends are buried. And I can do that a little bit later. But I'm going to pull that pin out. And then I need to I'm just trying to kind of go around each of these little eyes that are on the hooks in more like a kind of like a fan pattern. So we'll get a couple done on that side, and I can kind of see where that eye is by just kind of manipulating the fabric. This would be a really good time to have a thimble on my finger or my thumb. Okay, I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting in that circle so that I can really hold that down, and if I can keep my thread from getting all tangled up, which I can't. So that is massively tangled right now. We need to separate each of these. I have a little bit, hopefully, of a good solution. I have this thread conditioner. This one's called Thread Magic, and I can put a link to this or something like it in the description. And it's just this kind of a gel, I don't know what you call it, but it's a kind of a gel in this plastic case. You just put the thread down on top of the gel, and I kind of put a little pressure on it with my thumb, and then I drag the thread through it all the way, and then that just puts a little bit of this conditioner onto the thread, and hopefully it keeps it from tangling up while we are sewing. And let's just try to get that hook back down in there. Keep the hook down. It's because it's so tiny. It's just so tricky. It should be a pretty easy thing. It's like sewing on a button, but it's because you can't see the back of it. Usually when I'm sewing on a hook or the eye for the hook, you can see the eyes without a problem, and you're able to sew on with ease. And you can just whip stitch these off, but this one's inside, so you can't really see it. Okay. And one would think that sewing on a bra hook would not be this challenging, but yet here we are. Okay. Once we got this going, it's going pretty well now. Now that that hook is just really set in there, and we've got the thread conditioner to keep the thread from twisting and turning, and I think we've got it. Okay, now I need to take my needle, and I'm going to go back inside between the two layers, and then I'm going to come out over here where I pulled those stitches out. And then we are just going to close up the gap now. Okay, so that's our last stitch. So now I'm just going to take a stitch around, and we're going to secure this stitch off now. I'm going to go through that loop. I'm going to pull that loop tight, and I've created another loop, and then I'm going to put my thread back, my needle back through that part of the loop and pull this one tight, and then I'm going to give that a nice secure tug. And then this knot is done. I'm going to bury my needle into the fabric and come out in another spot right there. Doesn't matter where I come out. This again, thimble would have been good. I even have some needle grippers too. This is just not coming through. Okay, struggling, pushing, pulling, trying not to get stabbed. There it goes. Okay. Now, oh, yeah, that's great. We've popped that knot right into the fabric, which is perfect. And then I'm just going to snip that thread, and that should be it. You know, again, this one's not the most beautiful, but it is functional. And so we'll take, that one is an original, that one's an original, and that is the one that I just did. And look at that. Now it's going to hold. All right, so done. Next on the list are some old dish rags that I have that are kind of getting a little tattered. So what this is these were part of a full-size dish towel that I used to dry my dishes. When the towel started getting a little bit stained, worn out, I cut it into 4 pieces and I serged the ends of it. It's not super pretty, but it is definitely useful. It keeps everything from raveling so that when I'm washing, I don't have threads all over the place. But these are getting a little bit holy. So we're just going to, again, a simple fix. I'm just going to cut that down, and I'm going to reserge that raw edge, and it'll be good to go as a dish rag again. And I just took and drew a quick line on there so that I could know where I need to place my needles and cut the fabric. I didn't change any of the thread in my serger. It doesn't matter what color thread is in here, at least to me it doesn't. I'm just washing dishes or wiping counters with these. And then we're just going to sew. I could have cut this first too, but the machine is handling it pretty well. Whoop. Nope, we have a thread out. Hang on. Let's figure out what's going on here. All right. Well, it just decided to pop out. And we're going to decide to pop it back in now. All right. Set the thread into the threader. And let that pop back up, and there we go. All right. Tweezers are a sewist's best friend. So I'm just going to pop that back, and we're going to go over the second time. Try not to get close to your knife because you don't want the knife to cut off any of the stitching you just did. There we have it. I just serge that edge so that it will stay neat while I'm washing my dishes or wiping my counters. And I could take and thread this back through with the darning needle, but I did do that one with this one last year, but it just came back out, and it's not a big deal. Okay, let's just do the second one here, and then these are done. This one's going to need a little help through because of that thick binding on there. There we go. There we are. And there's that one. Again, like I said, the thread color doesn't matter. It's really just there so that I can keep all of the threads on the side of the cloth from raveling as I'm doing the dishes and wearing out faster. Oh, that's not cool. Oh, I'm just seeing this and see where these loops right there aren't catching they're very, very loose. That's because one of the threads fell out of the looper tension disc. So just put that back in. All right. Well, we're gonna resew this one just to be sure that those loops are nice and tight. That looks a lot better, a lot tighter, and sewing it twice isn't going to hurt anything anyway. 2 small repairs. But that's the beauty of mending. It doesn't always have to be complicated. Sometimes it's just choosing to care enough to keep something going a little longer. These may not be the flashiest of garments, but they still serve a purpose, and I love giving things a second chance to do their job. I'll be tackling 2 more repairs in the next video, so if you're mending with me, I'd love to have you back. Thanks for hanging out with me in the studio today. Sew better, sew happier. Bye for now.